Here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Roger Saffold in concussion protocol.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What row?
Darrington Evans back at practice. He joins Marcus Johnson and Brady Breeze in the return protocol, which here we go. 21 days from the start.
Explain to us, knuckleheads.
21 days. So once you come off of IR, which I'm waving my arms around.
I thought you were talking to Nick Saban.
I'm telling you to bunt.
I didn't know. I didn't know what you were doing there.
So IR once upon a time was you went on IR and you never came back.
Right.
Then you could designate, remember, a couple of players and they could return from IR. Well, because of COVID, and I'm going to tell you, Blaine, I think this is a fantastic rule. You can put somebody on IR and they can come back. They just have to be out for 3 weeks. They're playing 17 games now. I think anything that'll help teams with roster management is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So guys are starting to come off now who started the season on IR. So Darrington Evans is the latest. So Marcus Johnson is in this window and Brady Breeze. They're like in this weird – it's not like Kicker Island where all the kickers and punters go who don't have a team right now and they just work out every day and, drink like energy drinks and stuff and just wait to be transported back to a team for a week or two and then they're transported back to Kicker Island. This is a deal where they can practice every day. They don't count against the team's roster. They've got 21 days. And with Marcus Johnson, because we still have zero idea why he ever went on IR. No one knows. It's the greatest mystery in Titans football right now is whatever happened to Marcus Johnson.
Have to list something? Have we? I don't see anything, but
I guess not. And I guess if you go on IR, you can just go on IR because he did. Right. Now, it said undisclosed illness. I mean, hey, man, I had COVID. Sometimes I still get tired. I still can't smell anything. Maybe it's something.
Except he's running around, so that's why maybe he was out.
So maybe it could be, and I don't even remember if I don't know. Maybe it's something COVID related. I don't know. It could be anything. We don't know. So all we can do is just wonder.
Just to keep it simple, now these guys are available. Depending on how practice goes, they can be up and ready to rock and roll. See, this if I was coaching, you be that guy telling me who's up and who's not, and then I just keep it moving. Yeah. So these guys potentially can play on Sunday. That's what it tells us. And Darrington Evans, I think, of all the guys, is the most important. Well, you could say Johnson, too, depending on if the two studs are back, which I'm assuming they're not.
Yeah.
But still, you want to keep the king fresh. So maybe some of these first downs, maybe he can take a drive. And maybe then, the king can come in for a 3rd and 3 or under. Because Darrington Evans is on that drive. Is that asking too much for someone, coming off of IR? To take a series or 2 throughout a game? You got this drive. It could be 3 and out. It could be 10 plays.
Zach is asking this question, and it's a valid question. Why do we need Evans back when we have McNichols? McNichols is certainly a solid player, and he caught 18,000 screens last week, and he's a special teamer, and he picks up the blitz, and he does all those things. In my opinion, Blaine, and you can say, hey, that's dumb, or hey, that's right, or there's somewhere in between. Darrington Evans is a different guy with his speed and with all the things that he offers. Darrington Evans, to me, has a chance to play more running back than a McNichols. If they're both healthy and available on game day, I think the team looks at Evans as a different guy than McNichols.
Right. Well, what I'm going to say is that quit looking at this as 1, 2, 3 running back. Yeah. Jerry McNichols is still your 3rd down back. As I gave the example, he can take series away from Henry as the starter. McNichols never plays 1st and 2nd down. So I'm going to utilize Darrington Evans as the Henry replacement, giving him a break throughout. Go look at his carries across the NFL. He's blowing people out. Well, we can't continue that and think he's going to be ready down the road. He is a cyborg, but you want to, we can give you a rest here or there,
right?
On 1st and 2nd down. So I'm not talking about replacing McNichols in my mind. I'm talking about now dressing 3 running backs, and then, McNichols and Evans can run down on special team, or Evans can now be my kick returner, because those are some of the things that he did, and he was special, and that's why we drafted him.
Yeah.
So I'm dressing all 3, and I'm still keeping McNichols in his role, because that role he's doing a great job at it, and I will not take it away from him unless someone else beats him out of it, but they're not going to have a shot if he keeps doing well as the 3rd down back.
Sure.
So Evans is the rotational person with the king. That's it for me. at this point in time, because also you don't want to depend on Evans yet, because you got to see him in a game and do it a couple games in a row to see if his body stay healthy, just to continue this process of being kind of the setup guy after the King.
The other thing with Evans is, during the preseason, we actually saw them run him between the tackles. Like you said, we saw him run the things that they run with Henry.
Well, he showed that last season at the end when he was healthy.
Yeah.
And he showed, the Hemi was healthy, and he had a burst. He was a burst of light. He was different. He's just a different breed. He runs in between the tackles as well as outside the tackle.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got sprinter speed, power. So, yeah, all those things match up with what they do in this offense as a complement to the King. Mm-hmm.
Couple of practice squad additions that happened, I guess, late yesterday. This is something we talked about last week. Did they just bring back John Simon? They did. John Simon's on the practice squad. He went to a longtime NFL vets, played in almost 100 games. They did bring him back. He's on the practice squad, and the way it works now, they can bring up guys in the practice squad every week if they need to, so he could very well play on Sunday. Also, defensive lineman Reid. Simon had a sack against Tampa Bay here in the preseason. I'm just trying to jog people's memory to remember him. Has been with Vrabel, I guess, a couple of times in his career. Reid has played for 5 teams in 7 NFL seasons, so more of a journeyman type guy. But maybe John Simon can give him a few snaps on Sunday if that's what they need. But
especially if Bud Dupree's not up.
Yep.
So yeah, I could see that, and I think that's when they cut him. They cut him early. I felt like, I think we both did, that there's a possibility he'll come back, so his contract's not guaranteed, and he's kind of a week to week, month to month guy, and he understands the defense, knows his responsibilities, and he's a solid backup player, guy you can depend on in special teams. So yeah.
Big story that had a lot of Titans fans sort of all in their feelings today was Stephon Gilmour. There was a report this morning he was going to be released, and it may have been. There are so many NFL reporters that report so many different things. It may have been Josina Anderson who reported they tried to trade him. They put out the "will release" thing this morning. They leaked that out and essentially hoping just somebody at the last minute would offer them more maybe than what they had offered. This is what got the deal done, a 6th-round pick. 2023 6th-round pick from Carolina gets the deal done. Stephon Gilmore, he's in the last year of his deal. So if you want to keep him beyond this year, you're going to pay him a crap ton of money. But he's off to Carolina, so they pulled off a last-second trade.
I think he only had $7 million that he's getting paid this year. But if you want a long-term deal, yeah, you're right. So I think he's a rental. And I wouldn't have gone after. I would have made a phone call if I'm the Titans. Got to inquire, see what you always can go for an elite, defensive back. He's one of 4 defensive backs was defensive player of the year. And so, yeah, I would inquire to make sure he's healthy, see where his mind is at, and what he's thinking, and if it's a rental. 6th-round pick, man. You start looking around at the Titans, you go, well, dang, we could have gave a 6th-round pick for him. I would have done it. Yeah. I wouldn't have thought that they could get him for a 6th-round pick, though.
See,
I would have never guessed that, ever. I would have thought, worst case scenario, 3rd, 4th round. Yeah. I wasn't thinking 1st, but I was thinking, 3rd, 4th round guy. Dang, 6th round? Titans. That's what we need to ask the Titans. Would you have wanted Stefan Gilmore for a 6th-round pick? I would have. For a 6th round, but it's hindsight 2020. I don't know what what they were thinking over there, but I think, how about this? Look at this lineup. I know a lot of people are not a fan of right now of Jack Rabbit, but Jack Rabbit, Stefan Gilmore, and Fulton in the slot. Then think about all the guys you have on depth as backups. Wow. Oh, Borders. Got Chris Jackson, Molden. Who's the other outside back? Another backup outside, corner. So I thought it would have built a little more depth if we're talking about 6th-round pick and you thought that was a possibility. Yeah, why not?
So he would be available
for 1 year. Yeah, that's what they did last year. Who was the slot guy we have? I think he's with the Texans now. We traded from the Chargers. Yeah,
was it King? The other King.
The King. Yeah, Little King.
Little King, the Prince of Kings.
Yeah.
So here's their recent 6th-round picks. This is just to tell you what a 6th-round pick might bring you. They took 2 this year, Racing McMath and Brady Breeze. Those 2 6th-round picks. Last year they didn't have a 6th-round pick. The year before they took David Long. Now David Long's going to be here a minute. So that's 1 6th-round pick you go. They rolled the dice. The year before that it was Luke Falk. He was gone before he was gone, the quarterback. The year before that, it was Corey Levin, who oddly enough is back after an odyssey around the league. The year before that was Sebastian Tretola, who was out of Arkansas. Remember, he played a year. I think he played that year. Every draft pick, I think, played in a game, either except him or he played in one game. And remember, he went to a club like in Fayetteville and got capped in the leg, and that was the end. They cut him after that. So he played very sparingly. Maybe he never played, but I thought he played. The year before that, Deontrez Mount and Andy Gallick. So I'm starting to give people six-rounders here traditionally aren't people who stick around, with a great exception of David Long. Maybe there'll be another David Long type pick in the 2023 draft for a six-rounder, but that's what it got done. We got one quick phone call, Frankie in Hendersonville. Hendersonville wants to weigh in on the Mark Spain hotline on this Gilmore thing. Frankie, thanks for calling.
Hey, my pleasure. Hey, here's the thing with Gilmore. He carries a $16.3 million salary cap hit. What is the salary cap that the Titans have? It's not even feasible. So we're talking hypotheticals here. Isn't the Titans got about $7 million in available salary cap? So they would have had to do some beyond magic, and it probably wasn't even realistic.
No.
And so he was untradeable to most teams because of that $16.3 million salary cap hit.
Actually, that's not correct.
That's not correct. Yeah, that's not correct. They only paying him. They've already paid him a sign-on bonus, and the cap doesn't follow you to where you go. It's what you present to the team. They only have to pay him $7 million for this rest of the season. So whatever that cap would be, and you could break that up, but it wouldn't have been $14 million.
And the Titans have about 10 according to Spot Track. But yeah, his cap hit is.
I'm not a capologist, but I do know that,
Yeah,
it doesn't follow him where he goes. That's what they paid him up front. Some of it was up front money, by the way. So that doesn't go to the Titans, I don't think.
Yeah, and Blaine nailed that. All your dead cap stuff that rolls back to the team who gets rid of you. They just eat it. They just eat a crap cap sandwich when they get rid of you. All the new team is responsible for is the money that's still owed to you on the contract. That's it.
Which is $7 million, right?
I think that's something in those lines. And one of the cap guys tweeted, "These are the teams that cannot afford Stephon Gilmour" this morning, and the Titans weren't on that list. There's 5 or 6 teams who are really up against it.
Yeah, that's what they were talking about, was that Gilmore wants to be paid around the 14, 15 million range per year with a long-term deal. So that's where that number may have come from.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, not everybody's. I mean, there's so much information out there about.
I think he's a rental. To me, that he's a rental. So then you say, okay, only teams who have cap space and that think they can have a shot at winning the Super Bowl, going to the Super Bowl, or go deep into the playoffs are going to really be targets. That's why they end up only having a 6th-round pick, because there's only so many teams out there like that.
And look at the Panthers too, 3-1. Panthers who get Sam Darnold. Hey, man, yeah, we'll rent this dude for a year. Absolutely. We're going to go for it.
Yeah. Well, they traded for Henderson, too, as well, after J.C. Horn broke his foot.
By the way, that was awful looking.
Oh, I didn't see it live. I just saw him rolling off on the cart.
Yeah. He was just backpedaling. And then his foot was sideways. Okay.
Ew.
All right, Lucas is getting sideways with us because he's about to get SEC Mike on the phone. We're going to take a look all around the SEC next. You do not want to miss it. Mike Bratton next on Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone.
Mike Keith and Coach Mack bring every Titans game to your smartphone. Hear every game. There's your answer. By downloading the 104.5 The Zone app.
So NFL Week 5.
there. Do you like the black jerseys there at Tennessee? Because they're traditionists, and they like the old uniforms.
And that's funny because a team like
They didn't
Tennessee,
even like the grays. I like the grays too.
I'm
not a uniform guy, so you're our uniform expertise.
I'm a uniform guy. I was never crazy about the gray. Now, I get it, though, the significance of the Smoky Mountains. So I totally get it from that standpoint. Now, in that way, it's cool. And they even had kind of the grade of those Smoky Mountains on the helmet. But throwing in the black in October, black and orange, that was my high school colors. I think it looks cool. Mike Bratton joins us. Now, let's just ask him. You like black uniforms on Tennessee, Mike? What do you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I can't believe there's so many people that are taking the opposite angle with this. I mean, Tennessee needs some excitement, and I think this is just going to help.
Well, they had such a nice win over Missouri, and that was one of those things where they just got off the bus. And if you looked at the stats, the stats said run the ball. And it's sometimes you just get off the bus and it's like, let's don't overthink things. And Mike, if you watch their games, how many touchdowns plays has Heupel drawn up and maybe they didn't execute, or other plays where things were there, a dropped fourth down pass, whatever it might be. This time it seems like everything he drew up, they executed and it worked. They only had 2 penalties. That was such a big win against 2 teams that seemed fairly even going in.
Yeah, I mean, who would have seen this coming? But it's almost like Josh Heupel is the perfect fit for what Tennessee's got right now, because he is just wheeling and dealing with his play calling, and there's so many shots to be had, particularly early on in the game. I think, his mindset, of course, this is every coach's mindset, but you want to jump on the opponent early. And like you said, Tennessee's just not been able to capitalize on a lot of those opportunities. But if they had, I mean, that Pitt game would have been like 28-3 right out the gate. Yeah. Same deal with Bowling Green. And of course, we don't have to rehash the Florida game, but there were so many opportunities that were not taken advantage. So I think Josh Heupel is just doing an outstanding job.
Well, the other thing is, as people said after the Pitt game, if you had switched the quarterbacks, Tennessee would have just killed them. If you just said, okay, Kenny Pickett is on Tennessee's team, and then they get, Tennessee's quarterback, then it's a completely different story. But they certainly have their quarterback now in Hendon Hooker. He's been fantastic now that he's running the show full time, and there's no question who the starter is.
Yeah, and I guess that would be my only concern, is the fact that for whatever reason he thought Joe Milton was better, because, hey, I was on an island. As soon as they added Hendon Hooker, I went back and watched all his games at Virginia Tech. As soon as they added Joe Milton, went back and watched his games, and I do not know how anybody in the world thought Joe Milton was a better prospect. But hey, insiders were right. I mean, I don't even know if this was a fair competition in fall camp. Milton was their guy, and that has proven to be a bad fit, obviously. But hey, it is what it is. And Hendon Hooker, he's not an all-SEC caliber player, but he's not far off. And I think as long as he keeps playing the way he is, he's going to give Tennessee a shot in just about every game here.
SEC Mike at Michael W. Bratton from that SEC pod, which you need to be listening to. He joins us now on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, Mike, I'm sure Tennessee is elated. But as soon as Hooker got in the game, I guess 2 games ago, he was more efficient in the offense initially anyway. So I thought Heupel was supposed to be this quarterback guru. It was pretty clear to all of us that Hooker was the better player, at least in this offense.
Yeah, like I said, that's the biggest question mark now I've got with Josh Heupel. I mean, did he have some kind of, I don't want to say a deal, but it just seems.
No, you said it right. It was a deal. It was a deal. He jumped everybody.
I mean, as soon as Joe Milton came in, he was the guy. That just made no sense to me, and I didn't like the stories we heard coming out there, where now he says he got this mysterious injury that Michigan has never, really confirmed that he had up there, but he lost his job anyway, and now it seems like there's kind of a mysterious injury he's had up here at Tennessee. So he seems like a guy that is very eager to make excuses of why he's not playing that well.
Well, I guess as soon as UT's offense got off the bus, you could just run the football down Missouri's throat. Man, was Missouri's defense just this bad? I mean, man, or was it more scheme related?
It was the D-line coach, right?
Well,
Blaine,
sure
they fired him.
They fired the D-line coach, but man, is Wilkes and Drinkowitz, I mean, that's still part of this responsibility here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Missouri's defense has been bad all season, but they've not been as bad as they were last weekend. So, I guess you got to credit both sides, but I really do think Tennessee took advantage of it a lot better than anybody. I mean, Kentucky, everybody's high on Kentucky up there, and they're red hot and all that, and they were able to just run right through Missouri's defense, but they didn't put up 60 points. I think they put up 35 on them. But, yeah, I mean, Missouri's pretty bad, and I think we're seeing already that Eli Drinkowitz maybe made a terrible decision hiring a long-time NFL coordinator that, for whatever reason, is just struggling to translate to the college game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But, with Mike Bratton, SEC podcaster and all SEC, I guess. And I guess Coach O is playing Kentucky, as you mentioned. Man, they lost to Auburn 24-19. Is Coach O on the hot seat? Because Kentucky looks like they are the real deal. They find ways to win games.
Yeah, man. I was interesting. I was just talking to someone else about this game, but there's no LSU booster or fan or anyone down there, I don't care how good Kentucky is, that is going to accept a loss to the Kentucky Wildcats. I mean, how many players on that roster did LSU even want when it comes to recruiting? So I know they're ironically enough, their starting left tackle got booted from LSU this offseason. So, yeah, this is not going to be one that anybody in Baton Rouge is going to, take sitting down. So I really think Coach O's back is against the wall here, and if he finds a way to lose this game, they may end up firing him by next week. I mean, I think it's that worrisome down there, and a lot of that has to do with the off-the-field issues with Coach O. So he's only lost back-to-back games once during his tenure there at LSU, so I think he'll have his team ready to play, but man, they're basically, they turned into Mississippi State overnight. They cannot run the ball. All they do is pass the ball, and it's going to be a horrible, horrible look if Kentucky Wildcats out-physical an LSU Tigers team on Saturday night, which certainly could happen.
Man, that's LSU's trademark, running the football. Someone told me, I don't know if this is true, they ran like 22 times and only had like 25 yards?
Yeah, and that's right why I call Mississippi State right now, because they cannot run the ball. They will not run the ball, and about the only time they have something is when the running back breaks about 3 tackles and he picks up 4 yards. You know what I mean? Like the offensive line, which is made up of 4 senior starters, they cannot block anything. So that's got to be on Coach O and the development. They fired their offensive line coach during the offseason. Should have fired him a little bit sooner, it looks like, because they are clueless up front.
Well, let's talk about the team that beat them, Auburn. Have they figured it out with Bo Nix?
Well, I may be a bad person to ask, because when I found out Bo Nix was starting that game, I put money on LSU, because that's what I think of Bo Nix.
Well, he was playing like magic now. He was getting outside the pocket, running around for his life, making some great throws. So I don't think you thought he was going to do that. I don't think anybody really thought that.
No, he broke about 50 tackles and made maybe the greatest touchdown I've ever seen last weekend. So I don't know where that Bo Nix has been, but if he plays like that, maybe they got a shot against Georgia. But otherwise, Auburn I don't think's got any shot. I think Georgia, I don't know why they're number 2. They ought to be number 1. I've been saying that for a while, and I think they proved that last weekend.
Well, with Michael Bratton, SEC podcast.
So, Mike, how are Alabama and Georgia, is it just them and then this lengthy void of nothingness and then everybody else?
Well, you call me crazy, but I still see a little bit of flaw there with Alabama. I mean, particularly now that we've seen Florida Gators lose 2 games, just the fact that they were able to run all over Alabama and they stopped Alabama on the ground. So, yeah, I certainly think Alabama is running away with the West, but that has more to do with the fact that Texas A&M and LSU and now Ole Miss look like flawed football programs that are able to compete. So I really think it's Georgia far and away better than everybody. Alabama just a slight notch down. And yeah, certainly you could say there's a step between Alabama and everybody else, but I don't know. I'm not one of these guys that think they're on a collision course for a national championship game. Certainly, it looks like they're on a collision course in Atlanta, though.
You mentioned Texas A&M. Somebody, like they always do, went and did a little counting on the records. And Kevin Sumlin, who nobody was ever happy with, it turns out his record at the same point in time is better than Jimbo's record, who they just had to go and get, had to pay, $7.5 million or something a year. Pretty interesting to see their records side by side when you know that Jimbo is getting literally every resource hand-delivered at his disposal.
Yeah, I've seen the numbers, and it very much reminds me of, every time Kirby drops a game, we got to look at his record compared to Mark Richt. But
right.
That doesn't tell the whole story, in my opinion. I mean, when Kevin Sumlin was down there, he had a guy named Johnny Manziel who he didn't even recruit. He had, some all-star receivers and linemen that he didn't recruit. And the biggest thing with those Kevin Sumlin teams, if you recall, I mean, they were basically no-show in the fourth quarter, year in and year out. They were just each year they went about 7-5, 8-4, and any tough game they just could not physically man up. Whereas Jimbo just led A&M to their greatest season since 1935. So I ain't buying that comparison, but I am very disappointed in the Aggies this year. I thought they'd be a West contender. I thought they'd be a college football playoff contender. Yeah. But I think the biggest thing down there, and this is on Jimbo, but their starting quarterback got hurt. He's a very mobile guy, Haynes King, and now they're playing Zach Calzada, who's more of a pocket-style passer. And it doesn't seem like Jimbo was ready to not have a mobile quarterback back there. The offensive line is a huge issue, and I think they just, they were game planning to have a mobile quarterback, and once that flipped on him, he's had no answer. So that is on Jimbo, but yeah, I think we're far away from calling Jimbo the next Kevin Sumlin.
SEC Mike at Michael W. Bratton on Twitter joins us on Blaine Mickey.
Well, Mike, I guess I want to ask you, who is surprising you and who is disappointing you the most?
I think the team that has kind of surprised me so far, I'll go back to Bo Nix and the Auburn Tigers. I mean, I know they lost to Penn State, but, I picked them to be dead last in the SEC West. And, they're looking pretty tough. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe they do find some magic and upset Georgia. I certainly don't think that's going to happen, but Auburn has definitely been a surprise, and it looks like they're getting better each week. Biggest bust, Texas A&M, already talked about them, but the other one got to be LSU, man. I really thought, it's hard to believe now, but they returned, outside of Ole Miss, no one returned more experienced production in the SEC than the LSU Tigers this season in the SEC, and we're just not seeing it. They're falling late in these games. They're getting leads, and then they can't hold them, and that was just embarrassing against UCLA. So right now, LSU, to me, is the biggest dud, and that's why I think Coach O is firmly on that hot seat, particularly if you find a way to lose to the Kentucky Wildcats Saturday night.
Well, what do you think about Arkansas after the loss to Georgia? You think they can rebound against Ole Miss? What do you think?
Yeah, I really do, because look at what happened to Ole Miss last week. I mean, this may have been a case where they just had not played anybody and not been tested. I fell for it for sure. I thought Ole Miss was legit. I thought they would go into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama last week, but I proved to be an idiot on that one. But what was the plan of attack? The plan was to limit Ole Miss's possessions, run. Brian Robinson, I think he had 37 carries. So I think Arkansas, that plays to their strengths. I think they're going to adopt that mantra. They already lead the SEC in rushing attempts. I think they're going to pound it on Ole Miss, and I don't think Ole Miss is going to stop them. So I think we're getting a really good game here between Arkansas and Ole Miss, but I would not be surprised at all if the Razorbacks pull the outright upset and getting 6 points on the road. That's probably my favorite bet in the SEC this weekend.
Well, one more for me, and it's kind of an expansion deal with the playoffs. Tell me, I guess, why expansion for the playoffs is good for the players.
Oh, man, that's tough to answer because all the reaction I see from the players is they don't want it. They don't want extra games. So how's it good? I mean, I guess hopefully we don't see this continue. I really hope we don't. But what was it last season? Once the team's year was done, we started seeing guys opt out all over. And I'm not saying we're seeing that at LSU, but we're already seeing Derek Stingley. He's had the surgery, so he's out for a little while. Will star players start to sit out more and more? I think that's potentially bad for players. So if you have an expanded playoff, there's more to play for. Maybe we'll have less players quitting on their team and their programs and being more engaged as the season marches on because they have that carrot of reaching the college football playoff. That's about the only positive I could see for the players.
With Michael Bratton, SEC.
Hey, on the way out, Mike, how many popcorn Lane Kiffin signs do you think we'll see on College Game Day this week? And how many people do you think will shake popcorn at him this week? And just how much general popcorn-related things is he going to have in his life for the unforeseen future?
Oh, man, let me tell you, I've recently bought tickets to the Tennessee Ole Miss game, and right after I bought the tickets, I bought popcorn hats for me and my 6 buddies that are going to be down there. So, yeah, that is going to be a meme that is not going to go anywhere for the rest of the season. And it particularly, if they lose this Arkansas game, the popcorn memes are going to be running. So I can't wait to see it. And, hey, I like the fact that he's out there and he's making these bold comments because it makes my job more fun. But you got to back it up. And like he said, man, they forgot to plug in the microwave last weekend.
Well, if I was him, I would just have my agent call Orville Redenbacher Incorporated or something. I would lean into it at this point. I would be selling popcorn.
Yeah, can we get some NIL popcorn deals down there? Surely that's got to be next for the Ole Miss Rebels, wouldn't you think?
I would think absolutely. And before I let you go, I've thought a lot about this. That expanded playoff thing. If you play in the Pro Bowl, if you play in the NFL playoffs, you get X amount of dollars each week. Just on top of what you make. Well, your contract is 17 weeks. So literally the NFL then kind of takes over with at least some pay. I wouldn't mind at all seeing those guys get it because they're going to make bazillions of dollars. Okay, you play in the first round, you get this much money. Play in the second round, you get this much money more. If you play in the next round, this much money. You make the championship game, this. I would like to see them share in the money. To me, that would make it more palatable that you're going to drag them around the country and make bazillions off their backs for a few more weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, you could add to that because obviously when you make it that far, the media scrutiny, if you will, the coverage is it just goes up and up and up. And who knows? I mean, you get a bit more sponsors and maybe you let players, I don't know if they go this far, but, let them wear patches of deals they have or gloves or shoes or something with their sponsors. That could certainly help the players. But you may be onto something there, and anything they can do to help out the players, I'm for it.
Mike, good stuff, man. People can follow you at Michael W. Bratton, and, of course, that SEC podcast, all SEC fans, all of them, all college football fans, for goodness sakes, need to be checking that out. Thank you for the time today, buddy.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, sir, Michael Bratton. When we come back, I did put this out. I retweeted the Tennessee football account and said, I dig these uniforms. What do you think? I got a bunch of responses. Curious to find out what people think. You can hit us in the Zone TV chat, Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, 615-737-1045. Blaney kind of mentioned this earlier. I mean, I told him I like him. He said, I wonder if anybody else likes him. So let us know. If you're a Vol fan, I'm real curious. Do you lean traditional? Do you hate it when they mess with the uniform? Should they have just gone smoky gray? Or do you like this departure? 615-737-1045. It's Blaine and Mickey on 1045 The Zone.
Besides sports, what's the 3HL's favorite thing? It's the food that goes along with sports.
They were yummy.
And some loaded tots,
And
too.
the tots with
Asian
brisket.
Zing. Asian Zing was
See,
that
I'm
new flavor.
a brisket tots girl right now.
You know why you lick the sides of your ice cream sandwich?
So it doesn't melt all over you.
No. Usually people always say, let me get the other half of that.
Yeah.
You lick all the sides, they can't ask for the other half.
The 3HL with Brent Doherty, Don Davenport, and Ron Slay. Today starting at 3 on 104.5 The Zone.
Got my good friend their feelings saying, oh gosh, now we look like Oklahoma State. Oh, this is Oklahoma State ripoff.
Oklahoma State.
Yeah, but I don't think that at all. I mean, Oklahoma State's colors are orange and black. I didn't think that
Is
for
black
1
part
second.
of their color scheme, though? I know they were trying to sell us on the gray. I had to go look up the history, and the gray actually was part of the original color scheme. I don't know if black ever was. But for a change-up, you got to look at it from this perspective for recruits.
Yeah.
The young kids that's out there, they get jacked up and pumped up for it. Now, it's just for a game.
Yeah.
And I get you got to go back to what we are full time. But for a little change-up, it's always nice to get the kids and, everybody jacked up because of the uniform. I know you jacked up about it, but I could care less what my uniform color was. I was gonna ball out regardless.
They were gonna do it they had it all scheduled to happen in 2020 when the schedule was initially out, kind of before COVID really ruined college football last year. It was gonna happen for the Kentucky game, and then COVID kind of
being
scrapped everything.
UT graduate, I guess tell us your thoughts. I'm assuming since you're a young guy that you love this idea.
When I was in school, I liked the Smoky Grays when they came out because they added to the atmosphere, the checker kneeling and stuff. Then they started losing, and then Butch Jones starts losing, and the gimmicks and everything kind of starts to catch up, and people get upset with them when you don't win in them. You get upset with them, and you don't want them to stick around. But now it's like I'm just whatever will energize the program and the recruits. People are like, it's not Tennessee. Like, well, Tennessee the last 20 years is not getting you anywhere. So, be whatever you got to be to
just keep it real there, Lucas.
Be whatever you got to be to put some energy into the program.
Got to make sure we get the umbrella out here, protect this building. We get napalm.
I thought it would happen for the Ole Miss game because South Carolina's an 11 a.m. kick. Ole Miss is a night kick, and it's Lane Kiffin coming to town, and Kiffin was the first to break out the black jerseys in 2009.
Yeah, I love them then, right?
Oh, yeah, I think that. There's always going to be people that are pissed off about it because of the tradition, right? There's always going to be those people.
Tradition,
but
man.
on that night, and it was Halloween too, next weekend, closer to Halloween. But on that 2009 night, they warmed up in orange. It was just normal, and then they come out of the tunnel in the black, and everybody's, what's going on?
Oh, that's hard though. I like that.
But
I forgot about that.
They were like practice jerseys from like Dick's Sporting Goods, right? They didn't have names. They didn't have a pretty design. Like, you can never do that now.
Oh man!
No.
Oh, let me turn that back to me now.
Okay.
I thought that's what we're gonna do on Christmas Day with the Titans. I thought we're gonna go in and then change it to the red jerseys and come out and put a whooping on the Cowboys. Instead, we still gave them a whooping anyway.
Just in the traditional.
In the traditional jerseys. But that would have had me on fire, man. I would have been, oh, man. My head might have exploded.
Let's get Tim in Franklin. He wants to weigh in. I like him. Let's get Tim in Franklin on the black jerseys. Hey, Tim, appreciate you calling Blaine and Mickey.
Hey, Mickey. Thank you guys for doing this. This is a great little thing. I saw the new uniforms. They're awesome, and I love them. And half the people that are going to complain about them, not being traditional, couldn't find Knoxville on the map. So go Vols, and love your guys' show. Appreciate you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. It's always, interesting because the people who follow the program for so long just like the way the jerseys are and keep the colors. They don't want any changing at all. And, they don't have the perspective of, we don't care about the recruit. Well, yeah, you should care about the recruits because they're going to continue to have your program in the right place as long as you have the right coach and coaches. So, yeah, I think it's always, kids today, man, they all love the shiny new toys, man. So you got something new and fresh, they get livid for that stuff, man. They love that stuff. Yeah, me and Mickey. I can't even say Mickey, just me. I could probably, it's cool. That's about it. But Mickey, whoa, man, he'd be jumping out of the studio for some sweet-looking black UT unis.
Well, I got one rule on alternate uniforms, and I'm hard and fast on this rule. Only one.
Only one.
Yep, only one. I don't mind if you wear different uniforms or colored helmets. Now, somebody like Alabama or Penn State, they're never going to. That's just not what they do. Notre Dame, and even Notre Dame has had a couple of slightly different things.
They wear that green, yeah.
I think Notre Dame in the green jerseys is the best uniform in college football. Period. The green jerseys, yes, gold helmet, green jersey, gold pants. That is my all-time favorite college football uniform. Besides Arkansas State in the 70s, that's number one. Notre Dame, close number two. Though. Okay. I'll tell you what.
The 70s.
We got to take a break. I'll save this for the other side. My one college football rule, we got a bunch of people want to weigh in on the jerseys. Some like, some don't like.
I blame Oregon for all of this.
100%. It's that Nike money. We'll go to the phones. I'll give my one uniform rule. I only have one. That's next. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
The NFC West starts your NFL weekend as the Rams are at the Seahawks. Coverage starts tomorrow at 7 on your home for Thursday Night Football. 104.5 The Zone.
So a bunch of you have heard of a So there's quite a few things out there. So Mike Vrabel spoke earlier. He didn't say a whole lot. He did say this. Roger Saffold is now in the concussion protocol. So Darrington Evans is in this limbo land where you come off the IR, but they don't have to do anything or say anything. He's in this 21-day window. So he and Marcus Johnson and Brady Breeze all still in the window where they can practice, but they don't have to count against anything for the team. So Darrington Evans off of IR in the 21-day return to play protocol window. There you go. Mike Vrabel also said today, this came up about guarding receivers, and it came up about the receivers not getting open. I wrote this down. He said Titans wide receivers need to be more physical off the line in order to get more separation. That was one of the many quotes from Vrabel. Thought that was interesting. Didn't see receivers at times getting a lot of separation in the game, I guess, a game against the Colts. Somebody asked him about that.
That talked about me saying that the DBs from the Jets were being aggressive because they didn't fear them beating them deep.
Did not fear
the same
them.
thing. And he's supposed to be, remember, the youngest team in the NFL. They had young corners, first-year guys.
Bunch of guys you can't name.
Well, I can, but
I know.
Yeah,
but like the average person would be like,
I
Darrell Revis.
remember him in college,
Interesting notes there. A couple of additions to the practice squad yesterday. John Simon came back, not the running back from the early 2000s, but the outside linebacker who spent the preseason here. Defensive lineman Karan Reid also. Simon had a sack against Tampa Bay in the preseason, made some plays, but got cut loose, but he's back. They're just really low on depth at outside linebacker. You can just plug him in. He knows your system. Heck, he was just here.
Well, I mean, I'm getting a little more nervous than with Bud Dupree then.
Me too.
Yeah, with that being said, he maybe needs another week.
Karan Reid is a vet. He's one of these guys who you've kind of talked about these guys before, how much you admire him. He's played for 5 teams and 7 seasons. The guys who just say, okay, I'll just stay ready and somebody else will call, you know?
Oh, man. It's like, I don't want to compare, but it's like you don't have a home. I mean, man, you just keep bouncing around different people's, family members in your family just to, have a house. But, yeah, that's tough living there, man. At some point, that time's going to run out. And it's coming. But it keeps you going, and it keeps you inspired and motivated, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So some guys can, live that way. But for me personally, that would have been my stick. No way.
Blaine Bishop and Associates State Farm Agency would be selling us all a life and home policy right now.
I see the writing on the wall. This is not my cup of tea. I'm just a security blanket when about like 5 guys get injured at safety.
Right. Come on down, Blaine.
What you been doing? You been working out? Nope. I'm working out to look. I look the part, but I'm definitely not in football shape. No way.
The other topic, and some people have called in, they've weighed in on the Zone TV chat. We got a bunch of tweets about it. Do you like, if you're just getting your car, maybe you've been working, you've got life that's been happening. Tennessee is going to wear black uniforms against South Carolina. So black pants, black jerseys, orange numbers. They will wear white helmets, but they're putting a black outline on the tee, a black face mask, black stripes on either side of the orange. Jason Swain tweeted this earlier. The plan was to have an alternate helmet, but because of supply chain issues, it crushed the plan for the black helmet. Every avenue was explored. And this is Swain. He says, kudos to the equipment team for modifications to the white helmet to make it work. So we asked, do you like this? Do you not like it? Rick in Hendersonville called on the Mark Spain hotline, was kind enough to hold through the break. Rick, black uniforms on the big orange, yes or no?
Oh, absolutely no. The only color that goes with black is silver. That's it. Black and red is terrible.
Oh.
Black and orange, you're going to look like a bunch of pumpkins. I know it's Halloween, but I would much rather them take a viewpoint of the ladies and go out in as Orgeron said, sissy baby blue jerseys with the orange and white pants, that thick orange Tennessee stripe down the side, trimmed out in the baby blue, then have a baby blue jersey with the orange and white highlights. I think black sucks.
Rick, thank
Well,
you.
tell us how you really feel.
Known fashion designer Rick in Hendersonville.
Man.
Hey, man, there's a bunch of people like Rick who are sitting at home mad about this right now.
Oh, yeah.
They're mad.
Yeah, they had to leave work right now.
I like that Rick had a plan though. It wasn't just I don't like these. He had an alternate plan for the uniforms.
Here's the thing, though.
Did you like his alternate plan?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm a fan of the baby blue, orange, and white mix.
Here's the thing, though. Don't just complain. I was a real estate broker for a long time. If an agent came in the door, hey, man, I got this. Okay, I get it. It went sideways. Okay, give me some solutions. You can't just come in here and throw the problem at me. Do you have any solutions? Rick came with a solution, right? Rick came with a solution.
Yeah.
So I'll say this, and Larry in White Bluff wants to chime in on the phone as well. I told you I got one rule hard and fast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What's your rule?
You can have alternate uniforms. You can pick specific games to wear them. You can do that. Maybe, well, for people who wonder, why do teams do that? It's for recruiting. That's it. It's for recruiting. Now, they can sell some, yes, but it's more for recruiting than anything else. It's something flashy and cool. The recruits come in. They got all the uniforms on mannequins and stuff, and they prominently display them, and they get to take pictures in whichever version of the uniform they want. That's all for recruiting.
Yeah,
My only
17 to 21-year-olds, or
Yes.
now 22
Yeah.
these days.
My only rule is this. When you play in a big game, wear your traditional uniform.
Yeah.
When if you're the Vols and you play in Bristol, if you're Ball State and you make a bowl game, or Arkansas State, you make a bowl game, that's the biggest game you're probably going to play.
Mm-hmm.
If you're, I don't know, Miami and who played Miami first week of the season?
Miami, Florida State.
Miami, yeah. Wear your traditional uniforms, because there's always going to be pictures and accounts and records of that game. And what you don't want to do is look back in 10 years and go, why did we wear that for that game? Because we won that game. We were on Sports Center. We got all this coverage because it was our one big game, and we wore this dumb alternate uniform trying to be
Well,
cool.
if it's on Sports Center, then you want all those young kids to see it.
But I want to, for that, though.
They
for
played
my,
Alabama, by the
For
way.
my big, there you go. For my biggest game, though, your biggest games, wear your bread and butter uniforms. Because you're going to have recruits at the game. You're going to send them pictures. You're going to be in correspondence. Look at what we wore on Thursday night against
We
South
don't want to have
Alabama.
you talking to any athletic departments, ADs, man, because they're going to be wearing all traditional stuff on board games.
Big
Hey,
games.
Yeah, man. So we got to keep you away from them.
No, man. Well, don't worry. Nobody's calling me to be an AD, so you're in good shape. Jerry in White Bluff is calling, though, to weigh in about the jerseys. What's going on, Jerry? What do you think?
there.
What's going on?
Thanks for taking the call. I had to turn the radio down.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
You there?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. I'm calling. This ain't a new idea with uniforms. They, of course, remember the smoky colored ones on their butts.
Ooh,
We had
yeah.
smoky colored uniforms, and I kind of said, yeah, that's kind of cool. That's all right. But black, you know who else wears black? South Carolina.
Oh.
And I know I don't want to be beat here or nothing, so I'm going to say heck to the heck no. I don't like the black.
All right, it's a no from Jerry. Jerry, we appreciate the phone call.
All because South Carolina has black in their
uniform.
uniform.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Nick-
if not, it would have been okay.
I guess that's what he's saying. Yeah. Nick in Lebanon wants to weigh in on the jerseys on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Hey, Nick, what you got, man?
Am I on?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Nick, you're on.
All right. I'm going to tell you the truth. I love the black and orange. I love it. I absolutely love it. All we need is a Alka-Seltzer pill like on the Little Giants to put a little Halloween vibe in the game. But I love it. I absolutely love it. But it doesn't matter to the point of the uniforms. We're just going to win anyway. We got to put a little spice in the game.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you.
I think people are going to be divided. I think more people will like them than don't. I think the people who don't like them, by the way, we got a tweet from on the, you can follow us on Twitter at Blaine and Mickey if you're so inclined. Cousin Shane O'Mac on Twitter says, tell Rick, hell no on the baby blue and orange.
I didn't think people would take that well.
I think that would get some strong feeling responses, maybe stronger than black. Here's the thing. Probably more people than not are going to like it. the guys and the gals and the people who don't like it, they're no matter what it was, they wouldn't like it. If it wasn't a white helmet with an orange stripe and an orange tee and, some combination of a solid orange jersey and white pants or orange and orange or white and orange, whatever, they're just not going to like it. But you got to remember, it's not for you. It's not for you.
Guess what I know they will like about it?
What's that?
As long as they win, everybody's happy. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's all they care about. Yeah, At the end of the day, they're going to love you. Remember those uniforms? We put that whooping? Yeah, on them. Mm-hmm. They're going to love that.
Now, you losing those things?
Ooh, they be like, don't ever wear those things again, Lucas. Lucas wanted them. He recommended them years ago.
That's why people started saying, stop checkering Neyland. Just stop, because they could barely win. They did it once. They beat Florida checkering Neyland. That was it.
Hey, man.
Well, that first
sports
checker
is
Neyland.
all everywhere, man.
That first checker Neyland had the world on fire. They nailed that. But you lose in funny uniforms, and people get PO'd.
You don't ever do that. That'll get the AD fired.
He can always say, hey, man, I'm going to pick the uniform. I'm picking
all custom some uniforms. Really?
Coach going to get fired before the AD.
So he controls all. Okay.
Hey, man, I'll pick uniform.
What about, and the coach recommended, I just did what he did. Well, you had to approve of it, though, didn't you?
Right. He didn't cross my desk. I hate him. Jordan Dajani with NFL headlines next. In the last segment, I know, Daniel, James, we got people on the phones. Jordan Dajani said to join us next to talk some NFL. We'll try to sneak back to the phones real quick when we come back, though, before Jordan. It's Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
J-Mart and Ramon, you're part of the fam just for listening.
This is more than a football talk show. You all have encouraged me through some very, very, very tough times here recently.
J-Mart and Ramon, tomorrow morning starting at 6 on 104.5 The Zone.
A lot of people are know some people were hating on. It's historical. At one point, they wore all green uniforms with gold numbers. That harkens back to their history. They're not like the Bumblebee Steeler uniforms, which were from their history, which are so bad. I'm sorry if you're listening, Ramon. I love you, but those were so terrible.
Well, I don't care if you listen. That was ugly.
Daniel.
Hey, they were at Color Rush on Thursday night, though. I think this Thursday night, the Rams and Seahawks.
Are they wearing the color rash?
I think Seahawks are wearing that, that aqua color,
whatever.
Whatever
now
color
that I don't like. They ain't trying to
horrible.
recruit anybody. That's just ugly for
Hey,
ugly's
but I can see everybody though.
It's easy to spot them.
I can see it.
Wreaks havoc on your TV tubes. Daniel in Lafayette wants to weigh in on the jerseys on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Hey, Daniel, thanks for holding.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I just wanted to say I think these jerseys are going to be slick. They're going to look clean, and Heupel is bringing fun back to Knoxville. I've been waiting for this for years, and I feel sorry for Luke Dottie. We're going to walk South Carolina like a dog at 11 o'clock. Go Vols, baby.
Ooh, man, he sound like he been hanging out with Smokey. Speaking of
Daniel, I like it. You're gonna come.
He jacked
come
up. He
strong
gotta,
like that.
you gotta stretch that out a little ways, man. So yeah, don't get too pumped up too soon.
No,
run out of gas.
No, Daniel's not gonna run out of gas. It's Wednesday, the middle of the afternoon. He's ready for Saturday at 11 or noon. His time if he's gonna go the game. Yeah.
I ran out of gas. I did that one time.
Jordan Dajani, he never runs out of gas. He joins us on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Jordan, how in the world are you doing on this Wednesday?
Hope you guys are doing well. A lot of action going on in the NFL, but I think the headline from today is obviously these new black uniforms Tennessee's going to be donning. I'm excited.
Okay.
Uh-oh,
I know you and Lucas are a couple of UT grads. Lucas is all in on them. Let's hear the Jordan Dajani breakdown of the big orange and black.
I like them if the kids like them. I don't care about the scheme.
Oh, Lucas.
What?
Come on, Jordan. Forget that. We're going to mute Lucas. You jump on him.
Like, you still are a kid.
Yes. What do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, so it's funny because I grew up in ACC country. So I grew up in Raleigh. I was a fan of the NC State Wolfpack, and they tinker with their uniforms seemingly every year now. So I like those little uniform changes. I also have connections to University of Maryland, and of course they are like Oregon. They're always wearing different kind of uniforms. So I'm kind of a uniform head. I like changes like that. So when I made the decision to go to the University of Tennessee, it was kind of funny seeing the reactions to the smoky gray, and then they wore those black uniforms once, and seeing how some of the, I guess I should say older folk were not fans of these changes. I thought it was pretty fascinating. But I got to tell you, man, I really like the look. I like rolling with the white helmets. I thought that looked pretty cool. They made some changes with the black outlining. Now, I'm going to say something that's going to upset a lot of people, but when I saw these Tennessee uniforms, I don't mean this in a negative way, but the first thought I had was, that's Oklahoma State. We are now Oklahoma State Cowboys taking the field with black unis and white helmets, okay? But I still like the look. I'm excited to see how they look at game time.
Wait. You're like the second person. I think a lot of other people are saying that. So I don't know a lot about Oklahoma State. So they wear usually black helmets, and that's why with a white helmet, the UT looks – because they're not the same colors. I mean, so – or do they look like the same colors? I guess they do have a little orange, huh?
Yeah, so Oklahoma State, at least over the past couple of years, they've been more like an Oregon in the sense of they've worn a lot of different alternate uniforms and also alternate helmets. There's been black helmets, white helmets, gray helmets. And in fact, there is a specific uniform combination they've used in the past where they rock black pants, black jerseys, and white helmets. I actually sent a picture over to Lucas via text if you want to check it out. So that's the first thought that popped into my head because I thought I'd seen them before. But, man, I got to tell you, I think they look sharp.
Jordan Dajani, our guest. You ever seen an offensive lineman intercept his own team's screen pass before? You watch a lot of football.
I don't think I've seen that, but it was pretty funny. That's Roger Saffold wanted some action as a receiver, and he saw the ball coming toward him, and he knew it was a screenplay. I guess he didn't, have time to react knowing Derrick Henry was right behind him, but he took the ball, and the best part was he started to move upfield as if he was chasing for the first down.
Well, most of those guys probably played like running back in high school or fullback or something back in the day, little leagues or something. Hey, man, I guarantee you they laughed about that in the meeting room, the offensive lineman. Say, hey, man, you saw my skills, right? You see me put my foot in the ground and get vertical real quick. In my hands, I had them wrapped like I was a boxer, and I still grabbed that thing out the air. they were laughing about it.
Yeah, what was funny, too, is like when Roger got tackled, he kind of was shaking his head. Like he was almost like, what did you want me to do? Like, I know it's a penalty, but the ball was thrown right into my gut. I'm not going to bat it down. I'm going to take him a charge upfield. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, the crazy thing is Henry was right behind him. If he'd gotten his hands on it, maybe it would have been a decent gain. I know there was, I believe, a Jets linebacker who was sort of near the play and actually maybe got that shot at Saffold that he might not have gotten at Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that was just a wild play. I guess sometimes in those screen passes, things get discombobulated at the line of scrimmage. Wild play. I think a lot of people found joy in watching that, though.
Well, that's about all that was working on Sunday in the pass game was screen it. Jordan Dajani joins us to talk Titans and all things NFL with CBS Sports here on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, since we were talking about, the Steelers throwback jerseys, which are horrible, how bad is Big Ben right now? Is Big Ben done?
Oh, man, yeah, it's kind of sad to see because he had such an esteemed NFL career, Super Bowl champion, one of the best quarterbacks over the past decade or so, and it certainly looks like he's done. Now, I'll also mention that he's not getting a lot of help from the offensive line, but at the same time, he's definitely not the same gunslinger that he was earlier in his career, and a lot of people are lamenting that the Steelers did not have a backup plan coming into this year, but at the same time, I don't think he's necessarily a player who's meant so much to your franchise that you're going to bench in the middle of the season. And I'm not even saying that that's going to be the wrong move. I don't know what I would do if I were the Steelers at this juncture, but they're going to have to game plan and adjust, not only in game, but also pregame in terms of what they want to do in dispersing the ball around, trying to keep not only Ben Roethlisberger upright, but also try to throw some throws in there that hopefully will make him a little bit more comfortable in terms of moving the chains. It's about adjusting. It's going to come down to the coaching staff at this juncture.
Man, I don't know, but this sure looks rough. Or maybe you could just wait till you're out and then you have Aaron Rodgers there. Wink, wink, nod, nod, Tomlin.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. Well, what to say about Urban Meyer and everything going on there? Is he actually on the hot seat? A lot of people are saying that. I think he's going to get one more, strike before anything happens. But what do I know, man? Or will this be a rallying cry for the Jags versus the Titans?
This would be a rallying cry if he had the backing of his locker room and the backing of his franchise. But from the reports we've seen so far, he doesn't have that credibility, right? We saw the reports from Michael Silver and, of course, guys like Ian Rappaport. And, it's a disaster. Like anyone who was holding out hope that Urban Meyer was going to change his franchise around, I don't think many people are optimistic at this point in time. And, it made it even worse. I get that this is like a PR nightmare, and no one is obviously, saying what Urban Meyer was doing off the field was fine. But it was pretty interesting that the franchise did come to the conclusion that they needed to release a statement, that Shad Khan had to say something to the public. And what he said was pretty pointed in the sense of, Urban Meyer is now charged. Our first-year head coach, who has only coached 4 games, is now charged with earning not only the respect of the team, but also the respect of the front office back. That's a very pointed statement. That's not something you want to hear if you're a Jaguars fan in terms of you're holding out hope that this could be a potential rallying cry to get this team back on track. It's a disaster in Jacksonville right now, and, I'm really interested to see how they operate moving forward because if Urban Meyer does not have the backing of his players, then things can go even more downhill very fast.
Well, I'm interested in how that all plays a part in this. When you say backing of the players, ultimately the players have a job to do, and they're getting paid a lot of money, so they could care less if they like the coach, support him. They still have a job to do. So I'm wondering how, when you say that, a lot of people have said that, what does that actually mean? Because ultimately it didn't matter. He's not on the field playing.
Right. That's a really good point by you. It's definitely not the same as if this situation kind of happened in college and if it was getting the same amount of attention. These are professional players. That is definitely a good point. But at the same time, this is kind of the leader of your team, the guy who's constructing not only his coaching staff, but also the game plans coming into each and every weekend. And this is a Jaguars franchise that is looking for some kind of leadership, someone to come into this program and help them get back on the right track. That's what they hoped Urban Meyer would be. So I think that can't be overstated enough. And, that's what it really comes down to is, do the players trust their coach and their coaching staff and just the decisions of the franchise in general. Because if they don't, then it seems like they're going to be shouldering the load coming into Sunday. It all comes down to how they perform each and every given weekend. And the Jaguars haven't been able to get a win yet. So you're right in the sense of it's a little different than if this happened, at Ohio State or Florida or Utah or what have you. But, I mean, it still speaks to more adversity that these players have to deal with when they already have enough adversity on their plate, in my opinion.
Well said. We're on with Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports. I guess one more for me, and that is Stephon Gilmour is one of only 4 defensive backs to get Defensive Player of the Year, I think, in the history of the NFL. If I'm wrong, correct me. Man, he garnered a 6th-round draft pick. I was assuming that it would be at least middle rounds. But, man, 6th round, man, I think the Titans, if 6th round, I would have gave a 6th round for Stephon Gilmour because I think he only would have counted, $7 million, I think is what's left on his contract.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad you brought this up. I would have loved if the Titans made a move like this to bring in a veteran to play defensive back. But, I mean, it's a fascinating kind of juncture here because the Panthers, they're looking to keep up their reputation of having one of the best defenses in the NFL, and they made this big addition. The biggest part, which makes this a home run hire or addition or trade or whatever you want to say, is that according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, Gilmore and the Panthers are open to him playing out the final year of his deal. That's important because I thought when a trade came to fruition, maybe kind of a under-the-table handshake would come saying that Gilmore would be signing an extension because, of course, that was the big risk with the Patriots this offseason. And it sounds like the Panthers are going to get a chance to look at this veteran defensive back, and if he's not exactly the same player, then they don't have to sign him to an extension because they're not tied to him. That's what makes this a home run addition. But as for the Patriots, I mean, all is not necessarily lost. I mean, a 6th-round pick is better than just releasing him. And it sounds like there were a lot of interested teams, but they couldn't get something that in return that they necessarily wanted, at least what he's worth, if you will. So the Patriots save a little bit on cap. The biggest deal is they kept him away from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they dealt him to actually a divisional rival of Tom Brady. So that's pretty nice as well.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he's worth more than a future 6th-round pick, but it didn't seem like at this point in time that he was going to be able to draw that for the Patriots.
Yeah, didn't he play in South Carolina, too, as well?
Mm-hmm.
He did.
Sure did.
Yeah, so we're on with Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
Jordan, this has been such an interesting year because teams are trading people in the midseason. They're cutting people. The Cowboys cut Jalen Smith. And I think when that happened, there were people who said, okay, I'm just going to wait to hear what bad thing must have happened. I still haven't heard of anything that happened. And here's the deal. You may not, okay, we're going younger. Okay, it's a 17-game season. You may really need a player like him sometime. That's a pretty big move just to go, yeah, we're just cutting him loose.
Yeah, I agree with you. But at the same time, this was something that people were trying to predict even in the preseason with the additions they made at linebacker through the draft. I mean, Jabril Cox and then obviously Micah Parsons as well. Jalen Smith, unfortunately, just hasn't looked like the same player he was coming out of Notre Dame. I mean, he's struggling to move laterally, and he's struggling in pass coverage as well. So that's why people in the preseason were kind of hypothesizing that maybe a parting of ways would be further down the line here. And sure enough, midseason, that's exactly what took place. I thought that maybe they could have dealt him away for a late-round draft pick. I don't know what talks were behind closed doors with that. But Jalen Smith is still a player that, is good in run support. He's still a legitimate starting linebacker, but he's not necessarily the guy you want keying on number one tight ends and also number one receiving backs coming out of the backfield and coverage. So I want to put this out there too. Keep an eye on the Washington football team. Of course, the rival of the Cowboys. I feel like they could be a team that's primed to make a move for him. They just suffered a season-ending injury to John Bostic at linebacker, who was not a guy who covered, but he was a guy who was very good at run support. Jalen Smith might be a fit in the NFC East.
Were this a 16-game season still, it's 17. But let's do this. Technically, the first quarter of the season is over. Your best surprise team or player in a good way and in a bad way, roughly a quarter of the way through the season.
Yeah, for team, I'm going to roll with the Arizona Cardinals right now. They, of course, are the lone remaining undefeated team in the NFL. I think they look a lot better on offense. Not to say they didn't look good on offense in years past with Kyler Murray, but I'm seeing a lot of good misdirection and just getting the balls into their hands of their playmakers. And I like the addition of Rondale Moore as well. Their running backs and James Conner and Chase Edmonds are fantastic. especially if you play fantasy football. I really like what Cliff Kingsbury's doing here. And it's funny because he was one of the prospective coaches on the so-called hot seat, if you were, entering this year. People kind of thought the Cardinals might disappoint, and they've done everything but through the first quarter of the season. So they reside in the toughest division in the NFL, no doubt about that, but they've looked very sharp through the first 4 weeks of the season. Now, as for a team that's disappointed, I got to probably go back to the Pittsburgh Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger. I feel like the narrative entering this season was really negative towards the Steelers, and I was on the other side of the fence. It made me want to be positive about this franchise because they should have one of the top defenses on paper. That probably should have helped stand up Ben Roethlisberger. I know he's not the same quarterback he was, but I like the addition of Najee Harris. They have really good wide receivers. I thought the offense would at least look serviceable, especially with the backing of what was supposed to be a really good defense this year. But to be honest with you, both sides of the ball for the Steelers have looked very bad. I'm disappointed in the defense. Ben Roethlisberger looks like he's quickly on his way out of the league. Najee Harris hasn't been able to do enough. I thought the Steelers were going to be a team that maybe could grab a wild card, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen at all. So I'm pretty disappointed in the Steelers through week 4.
Jordan Dajani, our guest at Jordan Dajani on Twitter from CBS Sports, talking NFL football.
Well, Jordan, you were just talking about Arizona. So is Kyler Murray the leading candidate for MVP? What's your top 3?
Ooh, top 3. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure about that, but I can tell you that Kyler Murray definitely is the front runner in my mind. I mean, he's a guy, obviously a former number 1 overall pick who's taken steps forward in every year, and now we're seeing the best Kyler Murray possible. He looks like he's getting quicker, like every game. It's impossible to tackle him. The only guy who can tackle him is himself when he slips up on those runs. So he's just getting better and better. But, yeah, I don't know. That's actually a good question. I'll have to check out these MVP midseason rankings when I get off the phone with you. But right now, Kyler Murray is definitely number 1.
All right, what do you think about I think they're doing the color rush. You may want to check on that with the Rams Seahawks on Thursday night. Who do you see winning this one?
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game. I love that we're seeing 2 NFC West battles in back-to-back, or 4 NFC West battles back-to-back with the 4 teams facing off. I think that's pretty fun because, like I said, these are the best. This is the best division in the NFL. You know, I think it's in Seattle, but I'm leaning towards the Rams. They got punched in the mouth last week very quickly by the Cardinals, and I think that's how you have to take Matthew Stafford and company down. I think that's a formula to success. Make sure you get up on the scoreboard early. Are the Seahawks necessarily going to be able to do that? On top of that, I've been very disappointed by Seattle's defense. I think that was the perceived weak spot of this roster entering the 2021 season, and sure enough, they have not held up their end of the bargain when it comes to Seattle's high-powered offense. So the defense is probably going to struggle in containing guys like Van Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, a player that Sean McVay wants to give even more touches to. They got Darrell Henderson back, obviously. So I'm leaning towards the Rams on Thursday Night Football, but it should be a very fun affair.
Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports, NFL writer.
Jordan, on the way out, what are you working on that people need to jump on CBSSports.com and give a read there?
Yeah, for sure. So I just actually published a column kind of breaking down the Stephon Gilmour trade. I graded each side for the Panthers and Patriots. There's more facets to this deal than is probably on the surface, so I think that's an interesting read. Later on in the week, we're going to have gambling previews for select games, and also I'll be releasing my gambling column tomorrow. Make sure you give that a read if you like making money. I went 11-5 against the spread last week, currently number 2 in the company at CBS Sports. Hop on the Dajani Dimes trade. Let's make some money.
Man, I love it. Jordan, good stuff, man. We'll let you go and let you count your money, and then we'll check in next week and see how the bank account's looking.
Absolutely. You guys are great. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Jordan Dajani talking all things NFL. Same segment every week. You can always catch up with him and catch up with us.
They got to tune in. Somebody practice for the Titans.
Dun, dun, dun. Breaking news.
Yeah.
Next, Blaine and Mickey.
Friday night, it's Independence at Summit in the 104.5 The Zone Game of the Week, presented by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office and Paul Winkler Investing. Coverage starts Friday night at 6:30 with Will Bowling and Lucas Panzica on your home for high school football. 104.5 The Zone.
saying? She said, I'm listening. You said the weather is nice there. I think that's what she said.
Oh, man, it is.
Yeah.
The sun, all of a sudden, this is out light bright, man. The sun, it's excited about the new unis for Tennessee.
Oh, she sent me a very nice message. She said, I heard It's a Beautiful Morning by the Rascals on the radio earlier. I heard this song right after I found out I was pregnant with you. It brought back some happy memories. I wanted to see you, so I watched you on the computer. Oh, man.
Wow, how nice, man.
That is super. Wow. It's got me in my feelings.
I'll make your day.
That is,
Man, it's okay. You can wipe those tears off.
whew, man, that's very, very nice.
But a lot of people are not crying now. Who practiced with the Titans?
Blaine Bishop, but the
Nope.
quick Twitter fingers caught this news. It's not just one, not two,
but three.
So back at practice today, and I saw on Jim Wyatt's Twitter, he had video, Caleb Farley practicing football for the Tennessee
Practicing
Titans.
football. Like,
Yes. Caleb Farley was in a uniform, like two-tone blue. I saw it.
Oh, my.
Also, Bud Dupree in a uniform practicing football.
Dupree.
Per John Glennon, now I saw those two videos from Jimmy Wyatt. He adds this, A.J. Brown back at practice. Now, me likey, all that. Here's what people are not going to likey.
Uh-oh.
Not spotted during the open portion of practice. Julio Jones, Brett Kern, Westbrook Akina, Derrick Henry, Jeremy McNichols, Chris Jackson, Jayon Brown, Ben Jones, McMath, Hudson, and Simmons. It's a long list of folks who were not available today. So it offset some of the good news with some bad news.
Oh, well, I think half of that list, though, is going to be playing. Well, I mean, the King, he's on there.
King is like, he should be eating grapes in a recliner on the sidelines after what he went through on Sunday, 35 car wrecks.
I would assume Simmons, but you just never know.
Racy McMath, obviously a depth guy. Tommy Hudson, the tight end, a depth guy too. But
Westbrook Akina.
Yeah, Westbrook Akina. Chris
He's
Jackson.
a starter. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
He was still doing special teams during that game.
If Chris, okay, this is something you brought up earlier this week. They wound up playing. I think it was 18, and I would give credit, but I saw more than one person, but I would give credit to all of them. I saw people mention how many slot reps that Christian Fulton got. I think it was 17 or 18 was the number. So a lot in the second half after Chris Jackson went out. Do you think right now it's Elijah Molden, get out there and you're going to get snaps galore in practice this week in the slot? Or do you think they try to keep Christian Fulton in there again this week if they think, okay, Chris Jackson's not going to be able to go? If that's the case and Chris Jackson can't go.
Well, I brought up, I was trying to allude really that how much did Christian Fulton even practice in the slot? Because he's the outside corner. And you got to practice, what you're going to be playing. And so they said they had a package in, for what it's worth. With Border. So maybe they did have him practice in the slot at times, or maybe it was someone else. He just knew that he would be the backup playing there. But that all sounds good on the surface because you're trying to play your best players and not play Molden. That's what it sounds like to me. But then we took our best corner, Christian Fulton, and moved him into the slot versus Crowder, and we then take him off the Jets' best receiver.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here saying we should be doubling him.
Right,
So-
not taking resources
Right.
away.
So
Yeah.
once you did that, I'm cool with you move Fulton to the slot because of, you didn't, injuries. But then let's double them then at times with Borders and a safety. So I just didn't like that whole move, all to try to avoid from playing a young player in my mind. That's really, they don't think he's quite ready. Well, I mean, hey man, he's got to learn at some point. I thought a matchup with him and Crowder was, I thought, okay, that's a decent matchup. I think he should be able to handle that. So,
Yeah.
But you don't know how much he's handling the mental side of the the adjustments in the game. We're not there. We're not in the meetings. We don't know what he's doing at practice. So we have no idea. So maybe he kept messing up on some things that he messed up in the Seattle game.
Yeah.
But I was like, hey man, at some point, I mean, he wants to be successful too. I mean, man, when you need a player and you have guys go down, that's what, your rookie year is all about. Get in there and step up for a game or two or plays or two, a series or two or whatever it may be. And he seems like he's, that kind of a worker, though.